The meeting will come to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, could we, board members, please read our mission statement? To unconditionally nurture our students to be full, proud, and prepared to thrive. Donna, roll call, please.
Present. Here. Here.
I'm going to give Kathy a minute. She's doing what I was going to ask somebody to do, so you're going to wait a second. Thank you, Donna. Okay, item 5, resolution to adopt the minutes from the June 23rd, July 8th, and July 28th meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Joe and Gary, thank you. Any discussion from the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passed. There are no budget transfers, correct, Stephanie? Okay. Item 7, approval of the June and July general fund bill schedules. Do I have a motion to approve? Kathy, I heard. Joe, you'd like to second? Any discussion from the board? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion passed. Communications intermediate unit, I believe that's Rebecca.
Nothing to report at this time. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, August 25th.
Thank you, Rebecca. Career Center, Joe.
The Clarion Career Center has been working on a strategic plan. We now have formally year-to-year items on that plan. For 21-22, we're looking at a secure visitor entrance, fencing around the gas meter around the back of the building, some parking lot and driveway repairs and painting, secure welding supplies for in a shed so that they're in a safe, secure place, some painting in the building, some new lockers in 2 of the working locations, some HVAC repairs, securing a warranty extension for the roof, and working on a feasibility study with McClure and Company. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Joe. Gary, Legislative Representative.
Yes, back in June, the governor signed Senate Bill 664, which gave parents the right to have their children redo a year. And also, it provided for those students with disabilities that were 21 that they could continue their education for another year. But it also did not give athletes another year of eligibility. And so I'm curious if we had any parents chose to do that in our district. Okay. The only other thing that came about was the census came out, and we have some interesting numbers. Of course, our county lost 2,747 residents. Our school district, we lost in the last 10 years approximately 500 residents. Our birth rate for 2017, we had 71 children born. 2018, 68. 2019, 62. And they're saying in 2020, it's going to be way down. And actually, a couple of our townships actually had no births in 2019. So our enrollment is dropping, and that's something to look at when we look at the budget in future years. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Do we have a report from the CLAEA?
Good evening. The same as any typical summer, our members have been investing many hours preparing for the start of another school year, and we are looking forward to many things this year. We are looking forward to welcoming all of our students back to our buildings. We look forward to continuing our professional creation and delivery of instruction. We look forward to welcoming new members to our association. We especially look forward to working collaboratively with our students, our colleagues, our administrators, and to meeting regularly with the committee of this board to enhance internal communications and focus on meeting the educational and social-emotional needs of our entire student body. The best way to accomplish things that we are looking forward to is by our entire school district working together in the same direction with the same end goal in mind, the success of our students. Thanks.
Thank you. Building Committee and Finance Committee, they're all together, correct? So that'd be...
Yeah, kind of. I still have Rebecca help me with the finance, but...
Well, I guess to clarify for everybody, Rebecca was the budget, and now that we're talking about the building project, that's where we put it all together with the Building Committee.
Right. Before I do the Building Committee report, I want to give a report from last month that I gave, and Nathaniel told me I had to repeat myself this month because we had nobody here. And it kind of works with what Rhonda just said. When everybody works together, everything works out great. We just, this summer, during the time off, the faculty, board, administrators, secretaries, custodians, and every employee of this school district, and there was a lot of them that were involved, had the opportunity to do a fundraiser together for one of our own, Caleb Kiefer. I'm here to report that we raised $30,000 during that fundraiser, and that is a very successful fundraiser for Caleb. And I'm very proud to be part of that. I've done a lot of fundraising throughout the years, and this was probably the one that felt the best for me personally. But I didn't do the work. Everybody else did. I was just the guy that everybody hollered at, which I'm used to that. But I think that everybody should be proud of what we did for one of our own in that fundraising. Building Committee. We have not had a meeting since our last meeting. Bob did get the opportunity to meet with McClure. They were looking at electrical and a couple other things. we're planning on in the next 2 to 3 weeks, hearing back from Eric, because, we're looking at not just fixing things, but an additional building project at the same time. And we got to make sure that it's affordable. So we really don't have a report other than that we're going to be getting together.
Okay, thank you. And I'd also like to say on behalf of the board, just thank you to everybody. I'm not going to mention names because I'm sure I will forget. But there is just an outpouring of support from not only within the district, but neighboring districts also pitched in and helped with the whole process. And I just want to thank everybody. It was neat to be a part of it, and I'm thankful I was able to do so. Moving on to Transportation Committee, I believe that's Amy.
Not really a report, but there will be an upcoming meeting to be determined. Things settle down so that we can start looking at the positives and negatives, make decision about one-tier busing next year.
Okay, now moving down to item 9, committee reports. Start with the business manager report. Do you have a report for us?
I'll just keep it short and sweet. I just wanted to let the board know that our audit is scheduled, our local audit is scheduled October 18th through the 22nd. We also experienced some water damage in room 105, and we're working with the insurance company to see if we can get some of that damage covered. Thank you.
That reminded me too. I wanted to give a shout out to Bob Coleman. As I become more aware and more involved in different things, Bob puts a lot of time in, and he puts a lot of effort in with his own equipment, and I just want to say that we're very appreciative for everything he does for our district. So thank you, Bob. We appreciate everything you're doing. I know you don't hear it very often. And that the water damages made me think about that. Now moving on to Amy's report on behalf of the administrative team.
Mel, Mr. Aaron, do you have anything first?
One thing was, there was a series of things that have been put out, and that if I'd like to stress to everybody, if they would follow the chain of command. The chain of command is not a thing of trying to be a hierarchy of things, but it is a way to get information. Some of the things that I've been seeing lately, if they were just followed through properly, a lot of misinformation wouldn't be posted, especially online. One instance it actually deals with the NFHS article. I don't know, it was brought to my attention by a local district that was upset because they got kind of trapped into a editorial on dealing with our NFHS system here at CL for live streaming. I don't know why he posted this without Don had sent the information that he wanted, our contract and that with it to be able to help explain it, but for some reason and even in his article at the end, he says I posted this without the contract. Our contract does allow, if anybody's concerned about it, does allow local radio stations that in with our sporting events. Okay, so if anyone's concerned about it, Explore Clarion knows, C93 knows they can show up to any event that's here. The key is we just cannot profit off of them. So we're not charging them to do this. What's actually recommended, because NFHS is with the PIAA and wants to support students, they actually recommend that the companies coming in get a student in with them. So that then it's a student learning experience, and so then it's not us making money off of games. Is there anything else?
They're being humble. I know. We need to talk about what's happening next Tuesday.
Next week, we will have 2 of our in-service days on Monday and Tuesday. At 4:30 through 5:30, we will have a Find Your Room Day for students and parents to come in and students to look around the building and go to their classrooms. And as well, we will be having 2 judges, 2 local judges, President Judge Foradora and District Magisterial Judge Dwayne Quinn will be here on site to meet and greet students, as well as everybody will have an opportunity to meet me, and I'm excited to meet many of our parents and students. In other events, I have been just blown away by the support and help from all of my staff in creating our schedule, in fine-tuning our schedule. Many people have lent a hand in guiding that and showing me how things could be, how students could be better supported, and I greatly appreciate that. I'm looking at our parking situation, designating some parking spaces for parents, designating parking spaces for agencies and visitors so that we can have a smoother dismissal. That's one of the things. The other things would be arrival and breakfast time and those sorts of things. I'm trying to iron those out so they all run smoother for everybody.
Thank you. And I know there was a group that met. Rebecca, you were in that group to plan the event on Tuesday. Rhonda, you were as well, and Jamie Grace. Is there any, I know there's some other things, couple other things happening that day too. Are there things going to be given out? Like a prize or something for attending? And,
Yeah, there's some freebie coupons that some local businesses donated that each student will take home with them, and then we're having raffle drawings for elementary students, and our association is sponsoring the drawings as well as for some high school students too, since it's just an elementary event.
okay, great. And I'm only asking because I think that team, that committee needs to be thanked for going above and beyond and getting coupons for areas to eat, drink, and sheets for whatever, and they're doing some raffles, so we want everybody to come out, if you can, from that time frame on Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday, 24th. Tuesday, August 24th, from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. here at the school, and it's going to be find your room, check out the school, meet Mr. Quinn, meet the 2 judges. There's going to be some raffles, there's going to be some coupons and things for local businesses handed out, and teachers will be in their rooms also.
Yes.
At
they
the
will.
elementary school.
At the elementary, this is just elementary, because we didn't have moving up day last year. That will come back this year, but because of that, we want to help loosen the jitters of our students and parents so they have an idea of where they're going. And Mr. Quinn and the team, put that together very quickly, and I think it's going to be a great event. And by the way, for the little ones, Chloe the dog will be here as well to meet you and visit with you. So, okay, I would like to personally, openly recognize a student, and that is Cody Whitling. Cody has taken on a Eagle Scout project. It is complete, and that is the nature trail, fixing up our nature trail up here behind our school. I'm sure many of you don't even know about it. I went with him the other day, and it is beautifully done. It is actually to me, I saw it as an outdoor classroom where our teachers can actually go do a reading lesson, they can go read a book, they can talk science through there. It's very nicely done. And it was begun originally by another person who passed away. And so he picked that up and made it workable and beautiful. Our staff is attending. We're all going to go up there on Tuesday at 2:45, and we're going to walk the trail. And Cody Whitling is going to guide us through the trail, because I really would like the staff and staff to really promote this. We're going to have a whiteboard there where you can teach, and it's just we talk about going outside and not inside so much, and this will be a way to do that. So I would like to invite the board, if it's possible, depending on what's going on at next meeting. I'd like to start our board meeting up there before the board meeting and have Cody take you as well. It is just beautiful. So I want to thank him personally. I'd like to talk a minute about telemedicine grant. We were able to secure a telemedicine grant through the IU. They did a lot of the work. And what this is what I've been told is what you can make it and what you want to do with it, and it will continue to be used in a variety of ways. The original intent of the telemedicine is for our speech teachers, our OT teachers, special education teachers to meet by telephone, the way that you do that, and talk with and teach them through telemedicine right there with this grant. It also, my intention where I see it far down the road, not far, but somewhat, is I would love it to be a place where if a parent cannot get their child to a doctor or cannot get them to their therapist, but the therapist is willing to do telemedicine and the parent can come in, we can provide that time right there for them to have that social work activity. So there's so many things we anticipate will come from this. It has not been set up yet, but I just wanted to share that. And I was telling Mr. Parker about it, and he said, well, we have a perfect person on the school board that would be able to help with that. And I'd like him to talk about that.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to appoint a board member to head up the efforts and obviously report back to the board, work with Amy. And so if it needs to be a committee, I'm fine with officially designating it as a committee. And I'd like Kathy Henry I'd like to see if you're interested in heading up our efforts with the telemedicine. Appreciate you helping out. It's right in your career field. I think you'd be perfect for it. Again, it would be a committee, so to the extent you're doing, like all our committees, it needs to be advertised, public. Are any other board members interested in participating with Kathy on this committee effort? Joe? You don't have to tell me now. I mean, it's something we can commit to later, but just keep everybody in the loop, Kathy, if you would, and work with Amy, and then we'll add that to our communications or committee reports or something to keep updated on what's going on with that, so the parents can be updated too, to the extent it's something that they can reach out and contact us about.
And I just want to say that the start of the school year begins Wednesday, and we are ready to go. And the only thing I want a request is if the students are riding a bus, they do need to wear their mask. Everyone needs to wear their mask on the bus. When they come off the bus, they may leave it on if they would choose, or they can take it off. And that's where we're at this moment. Moment is what I'm saying. Moment. We will do our procedures that we did last year. If your child's sick at school, we'll call you. If your child's sick at home, you can call the teacher, get the lesson if you want, come pick it up, wait till they come back the next day. We will have all of that clarified for you in an email, parents. So, and we won't bombard you with a lot. We want to just give you the basics for first, and then we'll continue to communicate with you as the year goes on. But very exciting, and I'm going to give a shout out to the entire custodial crew. The entire crew. The buildings look fantastic. They've worked very hard, and we are ready to go. And I'm done.
Thank you, Amy. Executive session announcement. There was no executive session to announce. Next item, item 11, is public comment. Is there anyone here wishing to give public comment? I have one. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Oh, two. Sorry, thank you. We got two. What would be the subject of your public comment?
I had a few questions. Should I go up there?
Just tell me what the subject is first, and then I'll decide how we're going to handle it. What's the subject you want to talk about?
First, I wanted to find out about the music teacher replacing Tina Bennett.
Okay, we hired Mr. I'm blanking on his last name. I mean, I thought that was it, but then I was going to get it wrong. Mr. Robertson?
Okay, that's full time?
Yes.
Okay. Second, since you mentioned Caleb Pfeiffer, I was wondering if you could give us a status of how he's doing.
I just saw yesterday a very positive post that he's getting very positive feedback from his doctors. He's still continuing chemo treatments. I believe he's still.
I talked to his mother yesterday. He had a very good checkup in Pittsburgh. One comment he made to me after our fundraiser was, "Dave, I'm going to be back for the start of school." And I said, "Caleb, I'd call you a slacker if you weren't, because I've known Caleb for a long time." So he had a very good checkup in Pittsburgh, his mom said, and from everything we're hearing, everything is going in the right direction for him. So we're blessed.
And he's planning to teach, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, back to normal, right?
Okay, I have two more questions and then.
Okay. I'm sorry. I need to have your name first.
Jamie Heston.
And what township?
Larry.
What's that?
Larry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Everybody knows me, sorry. You just don't. Mrs. Stiles, you had mentioned what is one-tier busing?
I mean, just for future precedent, public comment really isn't, I mean, you can offer whatever you want, but you can't really interrogate members of the
I
family.
just don't know what it is.
Okay. It'd be
That's all.
one bus run instead of two bus runs.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I just.
Okay.
Those schools will be at the same time.
Okay, okay. And then I had heard that the discussion for critical race theory was going to be discussed.
It's on the agenda later on. It's a policy.
Okay. And I'd like to give my opinion on it.
Why don't you go ahead and stand up at the microphone so everybody can hear you and give us your opinion.
Hello?
We can hear you good.
Okay. Critical race theory, I've been following it a lot in the news. My son is a teacher in Virginia, right near Loudoun County. So I'm very familiar with it. And that is something I absolutely, positively do not want in my school. That will warp our history as it is. It will demean our children. It will set them off to start with. They think that they are racist. They instead of bringing us together as a group, as one people, it's going to say, okay, well, you're brown, and you're red, and you're green, and you're purple, so we're all separate. What we need to do is to continue to teach our children that everybody matters, that everybody is equal, that they should love everybody, not separate and say slavery was the beginning of our country. No, it wasn't. It was part of the beginning of our country, absolutely. I don't want our children to grow up seeing color. I want my kids don't see color. And that has a lot to do with this school. I have two children who've already graduated, and I have one in 11th grade. My boys don't see color. My son is Caleb Piper, is a history teacher because of Caleb Piper. And he's down in Virginia, and I asked him this question, I said, if they're gonna ask you, mandate you to teach critical race theory, what are you gonna do? And he says, Mom, I'm really good at construction. Okay? That's the attitude that I want kids of this school district to have. Everybody is equal. And I would really, really strongly encourage every one of you to not even look at critical race theory. Throw it out. And that's all I have to say. Let's.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Boozer, I believe.
Yes, my topic is the same critical race theory.
What's that?
My topic is the same.
Okay, go ahead up to the microphone. Yeah.
Chris Cruiser, Limestone Township. I am speaking this evening to show my support for the banning of critical race theory in the CL curriculum. CRT lumps people into racial groups to pit them against one another, all under the guise of equity. There are many examples already where CRT is being taught of children being forced to apologize for their white privilege. Why should such divisive teaching be allowed into our schools? Rather, we should be teaching that each person is unique and has their own set of talents that are not beholden to any racial group. We should be allowing a person's individuality to shine. I thought the point was to teach our children that they are all equal. Children are not inherently racist. They don't care who they play with or what they look like. CRT forces children to look at their differences that they may have not seen before. Could this not in itself encourage racism by forcing the children to look at their differences and take out class structure? We should not be encouraging schools to plant such divisive behavior in our children's minds. CRT is a poison and should be treated as such. My hope is that you all have the foresight to ban all teaching of CRT in our school district. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the comment.
I have one along those same lines, Mr. Harper.
Okay.
Rhonda Show, Clarion Township. As an educator, exposure to facts with no bias in the delivery of instruction is what education is. If you have an intimacy with our CL curriculum, you would be assured that the topic you're speaking of hasn't ever been included in our district sanctioned curriculum. I have a daughter that is an alumni of CL and a senior this year, and that is no topic I have ever seen presented or I've ever discussed with my personal daughters. I feel as though those initials already have one political vibe, and politics really has no place in education.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to, what's that?
I think you have one more.
Oh.
There's two.
Oh, two more.
Yeah. All on the same thing. I'm just gonna put it out there. Kayla Grant, Strattonville Borough. The critical race theory, I've been doing a lot of research on it. I am a CL alumni. I've had a lot of the history teachers here, and they've taught us the truth. This critical race theory is just, I feel it's putting more racial issues into the atmosphere that needs to be. Growing up, going to school here, teaching my children who are in first grade together, I teach them, it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter whatsoever. The only thing that matters is what's inside and how they treat you. And I feel like if you approve this full curriculum, it's just going to destroy the atmosphere in this school. I was never racist growing up, and I feel like that's just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. A lot of the kids that were of color and that I graduated with tried to push their racial card a lot as I was going through school. But that's the only thing you would ever hear. Would I treat anybody different? No. Do Do I teach my children to treat anybody differently? No. Everybody is equal. And pushing this onto the teachers to have to censor what they're saying of the truth, what's the point? We're just erasing history is what it is. Yes, we started with slavery. Yes, but is anybody slave right now? No. So let's just jump on the bandwagon with where you're at now if history hadn't happened. So I believe that y'all need to really think about it, and please do not put this into my children's head when I'm teaching them something at home. It doesn't matter what color, what your religion is, it doesn't matter. It's the person who stands before you, and it's the respect between the two people. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
How many other people would like to give comment?
And I have a couple subjects.
What's that? I can't hear you.
Band,
Could you come down so I can hear you, please?
Sure.
Is there anyone else that wants to give comment so I can plan the time? Joe wants to give public comment? Okay.
I just have three areas.
What are the areas?
Band, the CRT, which is very short, and then math.
And what was the last one?
Math.
Okay. Joe, what's your topic? Okay. All right, go ahead.
So I'm Brenda Smith, and I have a senior, Rachel Smith, and so I agree, I'm not going to be here and everybody says I want CRT, but that would be, I would agree with that. I think it's not meant for our younger children at the ages of development, probably more of a college type of a theory to look at. As far as the band, I heard that, I don't think this is working. Okay. So anyway, I heard that the band may not be allowed to go to the 208 games that we have planned.
Not true.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad for that. And also, is who we're going to be teaching over at elementary or no?
Elementary band?
Yeah.
I don't believe she's teaching. I believe Miss Coulson is teaching that.
Okay. That was just a really good thing for the students because it developed that relationship early. And I think it helped bring more people into band. So I guess that's my concern is I think Mrs. Hoover was very instrumental in starting that early time for those kids to come in on that morning bus. And yeah, I'm afraid that we might, some of those 5th and 6th graders that are coming in and marching are phenomenal. I mean, they're unbelievably talented. And a lot of that is due to what Mrs. Hoover put into that, and I would hate to see that not be done. And then the last thing, I just have concerns about masking, and how will you decide if you have to start masking, and whose guidelines would that be by? That's just what I'm wondering.
The current administration stance is that we're going to follow the requirements. So if the governor issues another edict and we have to, or they're going to pull our funding, then we're going to follow the edict. If it's not required, it would be at this level. This body would decide to do that.
And his edict, would that be under like a state of emergency, like it happened before?
That's what he did before. That's how I would understand he would do it again. But my understanding is that the governor via PDE has indicated they're not going to do that. That's the most recent information that I'm aware of. But as Ms. Glassell says, every hour, every day, sometimes they change their mind, they go back and forth. So
Right.
we're telling you what we know right now, but tomorrow it could change.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd add that under the new constitutional law, he will, if he would do something like that, he is limited to the amount of time and the legislature would have to approve any extension.
Excuse me. Could he have a microphone so I can hear what he's speaking?
Yeah, I'll repeat.
Okay.
Gary, that's official. I know the constitutional amendment that went through and it's effective, correct? Okay. What he said was that the Constitution was amended. There was a referendum. I'm not sure if I'm using the right terms. It was on the election was it the spring? And it passed to change the constitutional power so that if the governor declares an emergency, he can't have it go for as long as he wants. There's limits to it. And that's what Mr. Sproul was indicating, is that there's a limit to it. And so the legislature would have an input as to whether or not those regulations would still be in effect.
Okay. All right. That was my question.
Thank you. Joe.
As many of you know, I lost my brother in May, and tonight, when we officially have a meeting with people in the room, I wanted to thank the board for recognizing him and making a memorial contribution to the CL Foundation. Thank you.
And you're welcome. You have our sympathies for sure. That was very sudden. So we're done with public comment. Now we're moving.
Can I make a comment about what the concerning the band real quick?
I'll give you 1 minute. Come on down.
All right, that's all I need.
Could you please start by giving us your name and your township where you're from?
Sure. My name is Christopher Moore, Limestone Township.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not really sure what's all going on with elementary school band, but I did want to address the issue with Mrs. Hugler being a part of that. My daughter started in the 4th grade with Mrs. Hugler. Since 4th grade, she's been in marching band for 7 years, concert band for 9 years, CCMEAs for 4 years, Mercy First Honor Band for 3 years, Autumn Symphonic Winds for 4 years, County Band for 3 years, PMEA District Orchestra for 2 years. She got first chair both times. Region Band for 2 years, first chair 1 time. All-State Band, NAFME All Eastern Band, first chair. And this all began in 4th grade in the elementary school band. And with Mrs. Hugler, so I'm not sure what's all going on with there. And my child is not the only child that has made such accomplishments since then. So I'm all for elementary school band and for the people going the way it has been going. And I hope any changes that you make go into effect. Kids' futures, if that's a good word to use, and that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. I'll confirm again for you and everybody else that the programming is not changing. We are still having elementary band. Mrs. Colson, I believe, will be teaching it. We think she's pretty good too. So we're looking forward to seeing what she does with the program. Yep. All right, moving on to, I'm going to start with new business. Item A. It's an appointment of Celia Schaefer and Emily Jamieson as our student representatives to the board. Do I have a motion to do so? A motion from Joe, a second from Gary. Any discussion from the board? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Any abstentions? Motion passed. Could I please have you young ladies come up, and we're going to administer the oath of office to you and have you take a seat over there, and I'm going to delegate my responsibility to administer the oath to Mr. Larry Jamieson.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. This is a real honor for me. Ladies, if you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Congratulations.
Welcome aboard, young ladies. Now I'm going to go slightly out of order in light of the public comment. I'm going to talk about, let's see, item V, as in Victor. Consideration for approval of the first reading of the revision to Policy 101, Philosophy of Education / Mission Statement. Bear with me if you would. I think I'm going to read it. The board members up here have this. it's in your folder. It was emailed to you, I believe, yesterday as well. But the members of the public don't. So I'm going to read it. It's 3 paragraphs, so if you'll bear with me, I'll try to talk slow, because I tend to go fast. It starts by reading our district mission statement: to unconditionally nurture our students to be successful, proud, and prepared to thrive. There's no change in that. The following is new. In order to offer our students a well-rounded education that teaches them how to learn by and think critically for themselves, the board is committed to providing a system of education that promotes engaged and informed students who develop the skills necessary to become lifelong learners. All students are entitled to learn in a safe and orderly environment where they are taught how to learn and think critically about diverse subjects, not what to think about particular issues. The teaching concepts which impute fault, blame, a tendency to oppress others, or the need to feel guilt or anguish for persons solely because of their skin color, race, sex, or religion are prohibited in the district, as such concepts violate the principles of individual rights, equal opportunity, and individual merit underpinning our constitutional republic, and therefore have no place in training for administrators, teachers, or other employees of the district. The district will not support the use of public resources in any programs, curricula, or supplemental materials in any format that indoctrinates students in a single social or political ideology and or theory, or promote one race, religion, ideology, or sex above others. This policy should not be construed as prohibiting the impartial study and discussion of political and or other controversial issues in classroom settings, including the dissemination of factual information about historical or current events where such teaching or information reasonably relates to the course curriculum. All sides of the political issue, supported by primary or balanced secondary sources, shall be presented to permit students to be well informed and able to make their own decisions regarding political and or other controversial issues. Further, this policy shall ensure that social justice and unsubstantiated theories of any kind, including but not limited to Holocaust denial theory, 9/11 theory, the 1610 Project, and critical race theory, are not advocated or presented to students as part of any curriculum unless approved in advance by the board. It is the responsibility of the board, the district's administrators, and its professional staff to ensure that curricular standards are taught using well-documented factual resources from differing viewpoints and sources. End of policy. Do I have a motion to approve this policy, the first reading of this policy?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion from Dave and a second from Corey, it sounded like. Is there any discussion from the board members?
I was wondering if we...
Wait, sorry. I had to flag you for the microphone violation.
That's why. I also think we should amend it and adding under the theories, gender theory also.
In the including but not limited to?
Yeah, including with the 9/11s and the 1619 Project.
Okay, I'm gonna, just give me a second, I have to ask Donna a question. What I'm thinking we'll do is, again, the procedure would be this is the first reading and then there would at least be one more reading. If not, after that, depends on if we decide to waive the second or third reading. So my thought would be is we've taken down that amendment and then we leave it open for other comments or amendments that may come in, and then we can incorporate that when we put it before us for the second reading. Okay. Is there any other discussion from the board? How about student reps? Anything? You don't want to weigh in on a controversial topic? No? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you, motion passed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now I'm going to go back up to the top. Item B, as in boy, retroactive approval of David Wiles as a custodian substitute. Do I have a motion? Corey, thank you. Do I have a second? Dave? Dave with the second. Any discussion? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Motion passed. Item C, it's the approval of the athletic office helpers rates. Is there a motion? Kathy, was that you? Do I have a second? Second from Corey, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please, Donald.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Motion passed. Item D. Supplemental contract for Sean Beers to be the mentor for Seth Robertson. That's the new music teacher. I couldn't remember his name. My apologies. Do I have a motion to approve? Kathy with the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Joe. Any discussion from the board? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item E, are supplemental contracts. I'm not going to read them all. There's a whole bunch of supplemental contracts. These are supplemental to the collective bargaining agreement. Do I have a motion to approve? Kathy with the motion, thank you.
Second.
Dave with the second. Any discussion from the board? Yes, Brian, please. Rebecca, could you help us with the? Good.
As far as the athletic and assistant athletic director positions, I think we have a number of athletics that are co-oping now, and I personally think that it may not be a bad idea to look into the fact that co-oping athletic director positions with Clarion area school district. There's a lot of overlap. A lot of the same duties are done between school districts, and if they're both part-time supplemental things. I'm just saying it's a discussion that that's something that maybe we should think of outside the box going forward as far as those positions.
I don't disagree with you, Brian, but I would also add, I think that calling it part-time is, that's what the contract is, but I think that's probably an insult to all three of the ones that do it, because I think they spend an inordinate amount of time doing it. So there is probably a need to devote more resources to it to have it done more comfortably for everyone involved. Any other comment? That's obviously beyond the scope of this motion. So, any other comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Brian Moore?
Yes.
Larry Jameson?
Yes.
David Parker? Yes. Gary Stoll?
Yes.
Rebecca Allison? Yes. Doug Lodge?
Yes.
Corey Fish?
Yes.
David Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, item F, after-school detention supervisors. Do I have a motion to approve? Gary with the motion. Do I have a second? Second from Kathy. Thank you. Any discussion from the board? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Brian Moore.
Yes.
Larry Davidson.
Yes.
David Parker.
Yes.
Gary Stoll.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison.
Yes.
Silver White.
Yes.
Corey Bush.
Yes.
Dave Davidson.
Yes.
Kathy Hill.
Motion passed. Item G, game manager / workers for 2021 to 2022. Do I have a motion to approve? Kathy with a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Joe. Thank you. Any discussion from the board? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Larry Davidson.
Yes.
Andy Parker. Gary Stoll.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison.
Yes.
Silver White.
Yes.
Corey Bush.
Yes.
Dave Davidson.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Brian Moore.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item H, the substitute rates for 21 to 22 school year. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Joe with the motion, Gary with the second. Any discussion from the board? Good question. Amy, do you know that answer? Did you hear the question? Oh, sorry. The answer is yes. It's the same rates as last year. You're welcome. Anybody else? Roll call vote, please.
Andy Parker.
Yes.
Gary Stoll.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison.
Yes.
Silver White.
Yes.
Corey Bush.
Yes.
Dave Davidson.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Yes. Brian Moore.
Yes.
Larry Davidson.
Motion passed. Item I, the day-to-day substitutes that are listed in your agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? We'll give Joe the motion and Kathy the second, if that's okay with you guys. Any discussion from the board? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Gary Stoll.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison.
Yes.
Silver White.
Yes.
Corey Bush.
Yes.
Dave Davidson.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Brian Moore. Larry Davidson. David Parker.
Yes. Motion passed. Item J, consideration for approval to not rehire employee number 460 as a day-to-day substitute in the district. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion from Joe, second from Gary. Do I have any discussion on the board? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Rebecca Allison.
Yes.
Silver White.
Yes.
Corey Bush.
Yes.
Dave Davidson.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Yes. Brian Moore.
Yes.
Larry Davidson. David Parker.
Yes.
Gary Stoll.
Yes.
Motion passed. I think we're going to do, if I'm reading it right, K and L together. Donna, correct? Okay. These will be roll call votes, but they go together. It's the approval of Dr. Jeremy Jewell as school dental consultant for this school year, and Crystal Asika, am I saying that right? Probably not. As school hygienist, and the rates are stated in there. Do I have a motion to approve K and L?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion from Gary, second from Joe. Any discussion from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Silver White.
Yes.
Corey Bush.
Yes.
Dave Davidson.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Yes. Brian Moore.
Yes.
Larry Davidson.
Yes.
David Parker.
Yes.
Gary Stoll.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item M, approval of the following list of bus and van drivers for the various contractors. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Kathy, motion. Dave, second. Any discussion from the board? Donna, roll call vote, please.
Dave Davidson.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Yes. Brian Moore.
Yes.
Larry Davidson.
Yes.
David Parker.
Yes.
Gary Stoll.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison.
Yes.
Silver White.
Yes.
Corey Bush.
Yes.
Item N, you guys can see it in there. It deals with the bus mini routes. Amy, can you give us a little bit more background on that?
Yes, this is a route that was created for a couple of reasons. One being not enough room on the bus for enough seating, and two, for behavior issues. And we talked about this as an administrative team already, and we would like to begin with this route, having two different routes. However, it is Mr. Quinn's intention and goal to combine those routes back to one, where feasible and when feasible, depending on COVID and depending on behavior associated with PBIS in the elementary school. That is positive behavior instructional support. He has a wonderful plan, and we think that that will help with that, and hopefully with COVID, and then we'll be good.
So just so I'm clear, and maybe some other board members might be wondering, what are we actually approving though? There's no dollar figure listed, so is it the fact that we're spending more money, or is it the fact that we're breaking up a route into two routes? Is that a board decision, breaking up routes?
Is this the same bus route we started last year because of the same reason?
Yes.
So I believe it was already in the budget for this year, and Mr. Quinn's gonna try to save us that money in the budget then, is that correct?
100% correct.
Okay.
Mr. Quinn said it was 100% correct, for those of you in the digital world. Thank you, Dave, that's helped. So everybody understands we're not spending more money, it's just authorizing the different routes so we're all aware. Any other discussion from board members? Excellent point. Do I have a motion to approve item N?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Dave with the motion, Joe with the second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Motion passed. Item O, I'm going to take a stab at just giving some background, and if I say anything wrong, you guys can jump in. Item O is, it's read, consideration for approval of the band to attend the away football games on September 3rd and 24th at an estimated cost of $650. It's my understanding that the administration was never intending to take away a football game or to say that we weren't going to the game. This is a budgetary motion because it sounds to me like it might have been a miscommunication or an oversight, but for whatever reason, the money for that, the transportation, the $650, was not included in our budget. And so because it's not in the budget that we approved, we need to pass the motion to approve the expenditure of the money. So it's not something that we weren't going to participate or that we weren't going to let our kids go. It's strictly a budgetary motion. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Rebecca, thank you. Second from Gary. Now, do I have any further discussion from the board? I believe it's the transportation.
It's transportation, which is not cheap. It's two buses. It's one bus. Is it one or two buses each time? They're going to two away games. The away games are now further away because we're in a new conference. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, a lot of the games are further away, but at the same time, I believe what we're doing, if I heard correctly, that we're going to two away games with our band.
Yes.
Clarion is going to two away games with their band.
Yes.
So it's a cooperative thing between. My only question was, will our cheerleaders be able to ride with our band bus to still go to these away games? Maybe I brought up a sore subject. I don't know.
That Mel can answer. I know we talked about that. I think.
I guess I just don't talk a lot. There we go. what the discussion was, we needed to make, we did not get band numbers yet. Once we have the band numbers, we will then determine what spacing we should be able to fit both on if need be. That discussion hasn't been done with the cheer coach yet because we have a progression.
And Amy, my question on that, the transportation, was that one that was bid out to all the different contractors to see if that was the cheapest?
The question was this bid out to see if it was the cheapest?
There is no bidding on that. They have a contract and they take turns. Chris Wolf does an excellent job as our transportation director of when a trip comes like this, there's 4 different contractors and they're on a rotation basis. So whichever person's time it is, they are asked if they can attend and do it. If they can, it goes to the next person. Yep.
I was just actually just got a message from one of the contractors that was concerned about how that was given out.
This one specifically? Well, I didn't know that, and that would be something I would suggest they talk with Chris Wolf about. Yeah, and then me after that.
Any further discussion from the board? Donna, roll call vote please on item O.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Motion passed. Item P is discussion for consideration, the approval to use capital projects funds to purchase up to 4 welders at a maximum of $4,000 each for an estimated total of $16,000.
I would like to ask a question about this motion, and maybe we need to amend it, because I'm not sure that this, I don't think that this falls under capital projects. I mean, I've read the information that we have for this. Excuse me. Wouldn't this be under the general fund? Shouldn't we be taking this money out of general instead of capital projects?
I mean,
Am I allowed to make that motion?
Yeah, I
instead
tend to
of-
agree, but I guess, does anyone have anything else to add to that?
The board can decide which fund they want the purchase to come from. Capital projects is the fund that I have used the last 3 years for large purchases for the district that we bring to the board to have a discussion that don't happen on an annual basis. So that is up to the board. That is just a management way of keeping track of those capital items that happen on an irregular basis.
I would agree with Rebecca to take it out of general fund, especially with us looking at our capital project. I think we need to leave that fund where we have it and just take it right out of the general fund. Money's money. We can move it around, but take it out of the general fund to keep better track of what we're spending over budget would be a better idea, I think. So I like to second Rebecca's amendment to the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion. Rebecca, tell me again, your motion is to take the words capital projects out and put general?
Yes, correct. Instead of it using capital projects fund, that we're going to take it out of the general funds.
Okay.
Purchase
All
4
right.
welders.
Just give me 1 second. Okay, so we got a motion and an amendment. All right, is there any further discussion on the board on the amendment? All we're talking about is amending the motion right now. We're not approving the motion, we're just amending Okay, I'm just going to do a voice vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion passed. So item P, as appears on the agenda, is amended as the motion was made to change capital projects to general funds. Now, do I have a motion to approve the modified motion? Joe with the motion. Second from Kathy, thank you. Any further discussion from the board on the substance of the motion? Done. A roll call vote, please. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Motion passed. Okay. This is my favorite time, right, Donna? Where I can help them all together? Okay. Okay, we already did V. So if you board members, would you please look at items Q through W. Q through W do not require roll call, so what I'm proposing is unless there's something that somebody wants to pull out and talk about separately, we put those together under one motion to expedite the meeting. So I'll give you, okay, I'm going to give people another couple seconds just to see if there's anything they want to pull out. Down through W. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Thank you, Larry. The clarification is, yeah, W is a discussion, not an approval, so we're only going Q through U. My apologies. Dave, you made the motion, right? All in favor, say aye.
I want to say something.
I'm sorry.
It's just a positive since it has about our cross-country.
Could you just use your
I talked to one of our I believe it was our coach, that we have 34 kids out for cross-country this year. And I think that is fantastic, and give a lot of credit to, I guess, our coaches from last year and there, and to get that many kids involved. I think that is fantastic, and I think that's a real positive.
Any further discussion from the board on Q through U? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion passed. I'd like to just acknowledge and say that we're going to miss Richard Cumston. Item U is his resignation. We're not happy, but we're accepting it because that's what he wants us to do. But we will miss him, and we wish him well on his future endeavors. I'm sure Max would probably second that. Moving on to item W, discussion pertaining to guidelines and procedures established for children of non-resident staff to attend the school district tuition free. Amy, did you want to lead the discussion on that? Not really? Okay. Well, I didn't know. What we had was there was a policy in place that the school district allows or provides for children of employees who are not residents of the district to bring their children or have their children attend our district tuition free. And the policy is actually kind of extensive. It has a lot of requirements or procedures involved, and the administration was looking through it, and it was pretty clear that we as a district had not been following much, if any, of the procedures. And it's my understanding that Mrs. Glassell has developed and implemented a procedure to effectuate that policy, and I assume you're in the process of going through that with the applicable teachers. The issue or concern, of course, is the cost to the district. The issue, as I understand it, is we do not get reimbursed. It's a sort of a mathematical issue, but I don't think that that's, when Amy and I were talking about this, we get reimbursed a certain amount of money set by the state for each student. There's a name for that Amy knows that I forget the technical term for it. But we're not really missing out on the money from these kids because they're not in our district, so we're not going to get the money regardless. It's not like if we ban teachers from bringing children, we're going to get that money because the kids aren't from the district. The issue, I think, is more just to make everyone aware. At least that's my understanding, is to make the board aware, because it can obviously affect the finances significantly. It could be at least a mill, maybe 2 mills, depending on the cost of the services. So when Amy and I discussed it, I felt like it's something that we needed to bring to the board, if for nothing more than to, again, keep you all informed, so that everyone knows what we're doing. Anything further from you, Amy, on that? I'm good. Okay, and this is just to introduce the topic. Does anybody else on the board wish to make a comment or ask a question about this issue?
Well, I think we should eliminate it. We're the only district with it, and because of especially special ed costs, if a child has special ed services, it could cost us anywhere from what, they're $7,000 to $14,000 extra a year. And
I think you might be missing some digits.
Oh,
Quite a few.
quite a few digits. Oh, a lot more than that, huh? Okay, but I just don't think it's fair to the taxpayers, and so that's my opinion. I think they should pay just like anyone else. I mean, we had people that live right on the border of our school district that would love to send their kids here, and over a couple other school districts, but they can't do it. But they can if they pay the tuition. And I think everyone who, if they're not a taxpayer of this district and they want to send, they should pay tuition.
After doing the budget and seeing some cost of the special education, now I don't know whether any of these students, because we don't get names in the budget, but you're thinking on that 7 to 14, Nathaniel hit on the head, you're talking 1 to 2 mills for one student in some cases, which is $80,000 to $150,000. What would the board's step be, or how do we go about doing that, Nathaniel, was my question.
You mean to effectuate what Gary just said? We would need to revise the policy. We would also probably be wise to consult with our solicitor. It would probably be wise to consult with our solicitor to make sure we're considering and having in full focus maybe some claims that might be asserted from us doing so. And make sure that we're, whatever his opinion might be on that, that we're comfortable accepting that or dealing with those negative ramifications that might come.
So what do we need to do to go to the next step if the board feels that way? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but...
No, the legal profession doesn't provide speed generally. It's more of a slow deal, so I apologize. I understand what you're saying, Dave. It sounds like you're saying, well, what motion do you need? And you or Gary will make the motion. If the votes are there, we'll move forward. The question I would have is just, well, you don't have the policy in front of you, we don't have it here in front of us, so you don't have a particular revision. It's just to move forward. Maybe it would be the motion, perhaps, I'm throwing it out there for the board, to maybe direct me and the administrative team to consult with the solicitor to present the elimination of the policy to the solicitor for his input, his opinion.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we allow you and the administrative team to support with the solicitor to look into the elimination of this policy and/or amendment to the policy where it does not cost the taxpayers money.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Does everyone understand what the motion is? The motion is to authorize / instruct me as the board president and Amy and her administrative team to consult with the solicitor and to get an opinion from him concerning the elimination, thank you, Gary, of whatever the policy number is that provides for the out-of-district children to go to the school for free. So it's not actually approving the change of the policy, it's to authorize us to take the steps, so we're not spending time to do it if you guys don't want to. Basically, if you don't want this, you should vote no right now, because we're going to be spending money with the solicitor to get his opinion on it and to develop I presume, a new policy or a revised policy, or a motion to eliminate the policy, and then that will come back to you guys next time to actually make the change. Does that make sense, Larry?
Is that on?
Yep.
So I guess my question would be, and maybe I'm not exactly clear, are we looking to eliminate all children of staff that do not fall within our district, or only the ones that cost us money?
Well, I believe Dave's motion was, so it doesn't cost taxpayers money. And I think I'm forecasting that that's where the rub lies, is what are the legal options to do it, because a good argument could be made that a regular education student in a classroom that we already pay for with a teacher we already pay for isn't costing our district any money, so why would we want to do that? And I think there's probably merit to that, but I'm going to guess that there would be some sort of a claim, or a potential for a claim by somebody that says, well, if they get to go for free, then I get to go for free too. And so we may very well be in a position where the solicitor says, you either got to give it to everybody or give it to nobody. You can't pick and choose.
So we would anticipate an all or nothing situation.
I don't know. I think that's likely. I think it's a likely opinion from a solicitor. I'm not saying that's what the board necessarily wants to do, but I think that's the position we're going to be in, is we have to decide, do we let it go, and even with the unintended consequences, or do we get rid of it with the unintended consequences?
We can't do anything until we look into it, and that's what, I mean, that's my motion, is to give them the permission to look into it, to bring back to the board for us to make an educated decision. We can't make a decision until we spend the money and look into it, and then they'll come back to us.
I'm going to ask Amy to speak. She would like to speak. She has in front of her, if you recall back to the beginning of what I said when I introduced the topic, is that she developed a series of protocols that would be implemented by the district before students are allowed to attend tuition free. And I believe she's indicating she wants to talk about that. So just to refresh everybody's memory, she's going to tell us what the procedure is that she's developed.
Donna, is it in their packet? No? No. Did we send that to them? I thought we did. Or was it in? Okay. All right. I would like to, this is up to the board, but my recommendation is there was no superintendent determination, a checklist of deciding whether a non-resident student can be here at our school, and that is in the policy. So I was asked to develop a determination and a process for our teachers' students. This is for the teacher students to come here. It's an employee application for non-district resident enrollment. So they have to fill out, we created an employee application. They need to get it notarized, and they were given the superintendent's guidelines to determine enrollment eligibility. And this will occur every year. So we did that this year. That's never been done before. And everyone was very cooperative. And there are 6 items that have to be met in order for the non-resident student of a teacher in our district to come here. If there is one that is not met, then I as a superintendent deny that. That is what I've worked hours and days and much information gathering with this. And my personal opinion is I would like to share that I anticipated that we want our staff students here. We want them to be here. There's a lot of positives for that. And I have numbers for you. The tuition cost it would be a total of this year $136,208. That sounds like a lot, but if they're not here, we don't get that money anyway. So they're here, we're not getting that money, and in a sense, you're looking at me crazy. It's called ADMs. If my child was here at Clarion-Limestone and they decide to go back to Brockway, Brockway will get the ADM for that. Clarion-Limestone will not pay anything, but they will not get ADMs when that child is here. Maybe I'm not explaining it right, Steph.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I was trying to get at before, where it's, if I understand you correctly, that tuition is not a cost to our taxpayers. Because it's an ADM, it's a reimbursement, and it's what you're saying is because they're non-resident students, they're here, but we don't get $136,000 that we would normally get if they were our resident students. But if we change the policy and say you can't come here anymore, and those kids aren't here, we don't get $136,000 put in our pocket because the kids aren't here, so we don't get the money.
What that is, so that is what happens. So those students, the only thing that happens is if you have 15 students in a class and a teacher student is here, that's 16 students. And that's part of the policy. You look at your numbers, and if the numbers are reasonable, that's one of the things you can deny them for. If we have too many kindergarten, and I as a superintendent decide we cannot accept that teacher's child for that reason, that's in the policy. What is extra that does cost the district right now is gifted and speech. That's an extra academic piece that we offer here. So if a child is determined to be gifted, our gifted teacher has a certain amount of students. What word am I looking for? A caseload. Right, they are only allowed to have so many on their caseload. So by having an extra 2 people from a non-resident teacher to their kids to come here that are gifted, as long as that ratio is within the realm, there is no extra cost. It's if it goes above that. And in policy, that would be denied by me. Speech is the same way. Speech has caseload. And if you're over your caseload, that becomes an issue because you're gonna need to hire a part-time speech person to attend to those students. Same thing, if we look at the caseload every year and it's fine to add that, it's not costing us anything. I can deny that if it is because of too many kids or that student coming in. What is costing us is when a student, and this is one of the determinations that the parents were given, when the current placement of a student here at our school that wants to come as a teacher's child, when they are placed outside of our school district in another facility or another program, whether that be they go to the IU for something, or they go to North Clarion because that's where the program is, or they go somewhere else, that cost we don't get reimbursed for by ADM. We pay that entire amount of money. We have to pay that district the money. And at this time, that amount is, and we have to transport, is $77,700. Or is it more, Mr.?
So that sounds fairly accurate.
Okay. That, well, that is plus, that is with transportation. Yes, that's yearly. And that's if there's one student. If there's two, then you double that. That is costing our district money. And that is one of the determinations on the form that follows the policy exactly as it is worded. This sheet follows the policy exactly as it is worded. Each parent received the determination. So they're aware. They got the policy and they have the form. And I'm in the process of going through that.
So let me see if I'm summarizing right, and you tell me if I got it. So you've implemented, you have a checklist there, and you've described the policy, or the procedures that you've implemented. Part of your procedure is to ensure that there's not taxpayer money being spent on an a la carte, we'll call it, basis. And so your checklist incorporates that, and you're looking out for the district's bottom line on that. And that's, your recommendation is therefore to leave the policy alone, and let's see how it works this year, because this is the first year for it, correct? Yes.
Okay, so you're telling us that we're not spending that extra money now. So in that case, I will withdraw my motion.
Good. Okay. I think, okay, well, if we have no motion on it, I think we've, everyone's aware for sure, and I guess, obviously, Amy, if there's a change, you'll bring it back to us, I would assume, correct? Anyone else have anything to add on item W? Yes, Brian.
That's Corey's. Does it work now? Yeah. I guess my comment mirrors Mr. Jameson's comment. I don't think that we should, I mean, we're all talking around the subject, but I think we're going to distinguish between different people by in the terms of dollar figures. I think the appropriate question to ask is it legal or is it not legal? And then vote whether we want to keep it or not, regardless. And if your decision is based upon money, then your decision is based upon money, but it's all for one or one for all. I don't believe that in some veins we should discuss the people are all the same, and in other veins we should discuss that some people are different based upon their educational status. And I think the appropriate thing would be, before anything, that we get an opinion from the solicitor as to whether we are permitted to give teachers, children, free tuition as non-residents, or whether we're not, regardless of what it contributes to the budget.
I think the answer to that question is, that's the easy one. I think the answer is yes, we are permitted. Okay. I mean, we're the stewards of the taxpayers' money, though. That's where the issue comes in. I think we're all talking about, though, is we're permitted to do it, but is it something that we want to do as the board?
I agree with Brian. I just think it's very discriminatory for a staff person who has a disabled child. Well, you can't come here free because you're costing us money, and you happen to be blessed that you have a gifted child and you can come here tuition free. I think that's very discriminatory, growing up with a disabled brother, that he would, because I would cost, if he was in school and I was the parent, couldn't come, come here because it's costing us money. I just say we should, if you want to come here and you're not a resident, you pay a tuition. I think that's the fair thing. I think that's then not discriminatory. That's my opinion.
Any further discussion? Moving on. Okay, we're going to move on to item X. Discussion for consideration to purchase insurance for all K-12 student devices. I am definitely not taking the lead on this one. Amy, would you like to start this? Or do you want to delegate to somebody else?
I'll start it. We are going to be providing a device to every student in the district, K-12, and the discussion has been ongoing about, do we want to, as a district, purchase the insurance for all of our computers, or do we want the parents to purchase them? And if they don't, then when it's broke, we have to fix it for whatever amount it is because it's not insured, and we spend a lot of money that way, just even with 10% of the parents that don't buy the insurance. So we had a talk today. I think we came up with a great plan. What I would like is to say that the plan is, if it's feasible and the board agrees, we would like to purchase the insurance for all the computers for the parents. However, if a student's computer needs attended to, a key breaks, or if they drop it, it's waterlogged, they lose it, the parent, to get that device fixed, we would ask for a deductible. We would ask for a $20 deductible at that time for the Chromebook to be taken care of and repaired. That's how we'd like it to be this year, because we are so close to the school year. And I do want at this time for Mr. Lowry to speak as the IT person, how this will benefit the time of our IT department in this motion, or a motion to do that.
Thank you, Mrs. Glazel. As everything further described, we are in discussions with an insurance company where we do have quotes for each of all the devices individually. My understanding is we pay up front, something happens, we call them, they ship us a box, it gets shipped overnight, we fix it, we ship it overnight back to us. So there's very little time for my department and broken Chromebooks. It's basically package them up, ship them out, wait for them to come back in. I want to stand behind this. I want to ask the board to approve this, at least this year, because we are so close to the start of school. You know, the full one-to-one program, it's all new to all of us. We're not really sure what we're getting into. We've never done it before. We're going to try. This just guarantees us that all of the devices should be in working order at the end of the year if they're all returned. So I was on board with the deductible. Student rips all the keys off and says, I can't do my work because my Chromebook's broken. Okay, that's fine, we fix it, you owe us $20. Student says, I can't do my work on my Chromebook, I lost my charger. That's fine, we'll give you a new one, you give us $20. The only other thing that we can do is ask the parents to purchase the insurance on their own. This is another road that we can go down, but we're, as I said, we are very close to the start soon.
What you explained today about the 90% versus 10%.
90% of our students are going to take care of their devices, or at least I'm crossing my fingers, that's the number we're looking at. The 10%, those are the ones that they're going to break it 6 times. They're going to, these are probably the students that said things didn't work last year on remote things and they don't work.
And if the family doesn't buy the insurance, if we give that option, then that will cost us 6 Chromebooks.
Well, and it's also going to be detrimental to the teachers. you have a classroom where two students' families did not buy the insurance, they break the Chromebook, the teacher's lesson for the day is get your Chromebook out. Now that teacher has to change their lesson plan for the day because two students don't have a Chromebook, because they broke it, they didn't buy insurance. So now I got teachers going, I gotta change my entire lesson plan to not use technology in the classroom because I have two students that don't have it. So, all the way around, it seems to make sense.
Mr. Lowry, 2 quick questions. What's the cost?
Approximately $17,000.
And is the deductible that you mentioned, the $20, that's the actual figure?
Yes, that would be correct.
Is that something that we establish as a district, or is that what the deductible is under the policy?
That's basically the insurance policy for the device.
What does basically mean?
Well, because we have different devices, we have different Chromebooks, we have iPads for the kindergartens and first graders, and it averages out to $20 per device.
But it's an average of third-party prices.
Pardon me?
It's an average of third-party prices, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Larry, you have something else?
Do you have an actual breakdown? I know you're saying $20 an average, but do you have an actual breakdown?
Yes, actually I do. Not on me. If you would like me to send you the quotes for tomorrow, I can do that.
I won't vote for anything without specifics, for starters. But my other question would be, we're actually not starting. We had these Chromebooks last year. How many problems did we have last year? And I'm all for insurance. But how many problems did we have last year?
We disposed of about 25, and we had approximately 50 that were never returned.
And what did we do to make restitution?
That was kind of difficult to do because we don't know who owned them.
So I take a Chromebook out and you don't write down the serial number 123 went to me?
If I was in charge of dispensing that Chromebook, it was documented on the students' records what serial number they took. When the district closed for 6 weeks, right after Thanksgiving, Chromebooks were handed out in the classrooms with very little documentation, if any at all. We simply wanted to get them in the hands of students so that they could work at home on another day.
So each Chromebook was how much, Max?
Approximately $200.
And you're saying there were 50 that went missing?
That would be correct.
Plus 25 that went bad?
That would be correct.
So you're talking at $15,000?
I don't do that math that quickly.
I do.
It is, Max.
Okay.
So our bigger problem, potentially, is we didn't start this last year, number one. Number two, we had a very bad system, and nothing was implemented. And now, if I'm hearing this correctly, this district lost $15,000.
That would be correct.
Max, are you saying this year, though, I understand what you're saying, believe each student will be assigned a laptop?
Yeah. If I can just add in, this year, every kid will have their own. Last year, if they had one at home and didn't need it, they didn't get one. So we're talking about, I don't know how many that we didn't even give out to students. So now we're going to give out more to students, every student, and that will increase the number of Chromebooks that I think we would probably have break or concerns or dropped or whatever. This is going to be their book. This is how we're treating it. And as we are going to say, this is your book. It is your responsibility to take care of the book. Mr. Aaron shared that when a student loses a math book in high school, if we can get it, or let's say it gets torn, if we can get it rebound to be used again, they charge just that much for it, like a deductible. If they lose it, they pay for it. But again, there's another book we can give them. And if we get that money back, we get it back. If we don't, we don't. We aren't going to have extra Chromebooks to just give out, and we don't want to give out extra Chromebooks to kids that are not taking care of them. And so we feel like there has to be a piece that they're responsible for.
But with all due respect, my concern is not with students that didn't take them. My concern is with students that didn't bring them back. And that we are looking at a $15,000 loss, which I consider substantial. And that we need to look into that. I don't know that we can just say, well, that happened and we'll do a better job this year. I don't, trust me, I'm gonna chew on that for a little bit, but I'd like to hear from some other board members on this.
Are all our Chromebooks and computers inventoried now? I know we asked that question during budget time and we were told they were not. Is everything inventoried as far as the serial number and everything? And I guess my comment on what you're saying about the book is when my boys went to school here, if they ruined a math book, I paid for it. So I don't know what to say there. I mean, if they're causing damage to them, then before they receive their diploma, they'll have to pay for the Chromebook, right?
I agree with you, but we don't know who had to pay.
Well, hopefully we got that. We've got them all inventoried. Everybody's shaking their head, yes, everything's inventoried, right?
Yes, we spent the first month this summer inventorying and looking for every single Chromebook that we had in our system. If we did not find it, if we did not know physically what room it was in, we went into our system and we disabled it. It was basically non-useful at this point. When I turn it on, it's going to tell you that it's disabled, you can't log into it, you can't use it. My hope is that they mysteriously appear the first few weeks of school. Once these kids realize that that it is no longer working.
Look, I can tell you, again, this infuriates me. We're talking about budget stuff all the time and how tight our budget is and things that we want to do. And we're talking about a $15,000 loss that, quite frankly, Max, falls under you. And you can deny that if you want because someone else that handed them out. I don't know who handed them out. But there certainly should have been some process in place that when a Chromebook was handed to someone, you wrote down their name, you wrote down the serial number, we took the extra 10 seconds to do that, and now we lost $15,000. So for me to sit here and be okay with that, I am not.
I'm going to add to that now. Things happen, okay?
$15,000,
Hold up, Larry. And Max and I have never agreed on a lot, okay? But I don't think that burden can be all put on him when Chromebooks were taken out of the carts and given out in a last-minute situation to take care of it.
There was no process. That's why they were given out. There was no process.
I'm pretty sure it was a pandemic and a government shutdown too.
Max did have a process. If I could throw it on Max's shoulders, believe me, I'd do it. But I just can't do that in this case. I'd love to.
There was a
But
process,
I'm saying,
Larry, and it was not followed by several people.
Was it not followed by Max?
What?
He didn't follow it?
No, Max followed it. We numbered them. They were. I guess I can attest to what the high school was. We numbered them. We made sheets that had the students' names in the classrooms where they should be taken from. We had a numbered system for them to sign them out. And there were professionals who did not follow that and admitted that to Max. And miraculously, we had one person who gave out theirs all to people that they were not on their list. But we were amazed, all of theirs came back. The big question that we've asked is this an issue where you're billing, because am I billing the kid or am I billing the person who gave the computers out?
So my question is, first of all, are all our stuff now barcoded with a barcode that can be?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when these computers were passed out, and I know it's not sure, that the staff, when they passed out the computers to their students, were they to keep a log of what student got them?
I did not put it in writing that they should document every Chromebook that they handed out, although it was implied that they should.
And so when they, at the end of the year, then when the kids turn it back in, that staff person should have marked off the kid that, so we should have some form of information of who didn't turn their Chromebooks in.
You would think, but we don't, because the situations change. We were getting ready for the middle of a 6-week closure. Students were told to find a Chromebook. They needed one. They were taking them to whatever classroom or whatever classroom was closest they had a card in. At the end of the year, when we asked them to bring them all back, we told them to bring them back to the homeroom. So they were not brought back to whatever classroom they took it out from. And I can guarantee you that if you ask the students, hey, where'd you get that from? A lot of the answers were, nah, I don't remember. My buddy grabbed it for me and gave it to me. So,
Were those the old Chromebooks or the brand new ones we bought?
the majority of them were the old ones.
Yes, that's right. I wanted them to hear that. They were the old ones that are not, that weren't the new ones that we had bought, which is what Larry's referring to. I think when they came in and we never did get them back. We never did get them one-on-one out because it was towards the end of the year. And in a pandemic, and I said this today to the staff, to my admin staff, you have procedures that we were doing whatever we thought was best at that time. There was no history behind it. We were living it. Now we have history. And so it is done, it is documented, it is just, we know where everything is. Shame on us, you're right, but I will take the heat for that because when you're in the position we were in at that time, I needed to get the handbooks, the Chromebooks to the kids, period. That was what we did. We'll never do it again. We learned from our mistake, but there was no way to learn and know that that would happen until we did it. And we did it, and we were wrong, and we're at fault. And I take the biggest blame on that because I'm the superintendent. And I did that for kids.
The superintendent does not always have to take the blame. Let me first say that, Amy. But so my next question is, what assurance do I have as a fiduciary of taxpayer money that come next May, all of the Chromebooks that you're going to hand out next week will be given back? Because I can assure you, I will be sitting in that audience waiting for the answer.
You have zero assurance that every Chromebook is going to be returned next May because I don't.
What assurance do I have then that for the ones that aren't returned, we will be able to trace those back to the person that they were given to?
110%.
Okay. I'll hold you to that.
Okay, so
One question on going forward, when you've been there about the deductible. And Max, so if something, the board goes bad or whatever, that's only $20. Like, is that the same thing you're going to do if a student, like, intentionally neglects it? Like he takes it out and uses the frisbee across the parking lot, we still cost him $20? Are we making the parent responsible to buy a new Chromebook, not just give us $20?
My understanding is the insurance will cover that. If it's completely destroyed, they will replace it. So
but we're still covering the $17,000 for the insurance,
that would be correct.
which is not in the budget.
That's 17,000. How many Chromebooks does that cover? Or how many devices does that cover? Corey.
It is 728 Chromebooks. There are, there are Lenovo touchscreen Chromebooks. There's 26 of those, and there are 40 iPads.
That's correct.
How many iPads? I'm sorry. 40?
How do we only have 40 iPads?
Yeah.
That's an excellent question.
Kindergarten, first graders didn't bring back either.
We purchased 100 additional iPads last year, and we purchased a 3-year Apple Care plan with them because it was part of the package from Apple. So they're covered for the next 2 years by Apple, so they'll be the insurance.
And we have 100 of them?
That is correct.
And the 100, how many students do we use, or what grades are we using the iPads for?
Kindergarten and first grade.
So that's 794 devices that Mrs. Glassel just mentioned. At $17,000, that's just over $200. per device for the insurance. What's the replacement cost? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. 800. No, I'm sorry, 20.
I think you are wrong on that.
Yeah, $20?
Okay, $20, yes.
Okay.
Did we get most of our new Chromebooks back?
Yes, we did, Gary.
Good.
And not that I'm continuing to defend the position. I'm very passionate about this, and I want this to work, the one-on-one, and I want kids to have these, and I want them to take care of them. In that, when kids left, they just left our district. We never saw them again. Like, no one knew where anybody was. We found just about everyone that we could, but some of the students left and went to another state. I can't get that Chromebook back, and because I don't know where they went, and I probably don't know where they live to send them a bill. So did that happen as well?
I can't speak specifically on that. I do not know.
Yes, the ones that we knew would be able to get, that we knew didn't turn have been billed. And I will say, even Max went through, we can look to see where it last pings off of, and we went through that trying to find some of these missing ones before he disabled them. So it's been a process.
The horse is out of the barn, so it's really irrelevant at this point. But I sure hope this never happens again.
There's a reason I took it over during the summertime this year, not for other teachers.
All right, well, we've definitely exhausted the subject, I would say, and I do agree with the very last thing that Larry said. It's two different issues. I see it. What happened last year, we can armchair quarterback and talk and all that, and investigate, have a federal grand jury, whatever. That's last year. That's not going to affect what we do going forward. The question is, I think you said, learning from your mistakes, learning from what the issues were. That it's cliche, but it's hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime experience for all of us. Going forward, the proposal or suggestion from the administrative team, which has been developed for us, is what do we want to do with the devices? Do we want to make the parents pay for the replacement devices and the accompanying burdens that will go probably on the teachers and the administrators to follow up with it and chase it? Or do we spend the money to buy the insurance so that Max can put it in a box, mail it, and still charge the offending parties the deductible? That seems to me...
Who is the insurance through?
It's called Fourth Avenue Group out of Oklahoma City.
Is that anything like that computer support when they were talking at the one meeting? Is that about like the same type he was talking about?
I'm not sure what he was speaking of at that point in time. I don't know if they use a third party or not.
So the situation is, if we do nothing, that effectively you're putting it on the students and the parents. It sounds to me like, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. If we don't buy the insurance, then we're have to facilitate making the parents aware, say, hey, you're either going to have to pay the repair costs, or there's this option, we found this plan where you can buy insurance, here's the cost, sign up and buy it. And then I think Mr. Lowry alluded to, some people are going to buy, some aren't, and then administrators, teachers, everyone's going to have to keep track of that. How do we want to go? I mean, even if we do nothing, we're choosing to go one direction.
So I kind of like the idea that we buy the insurance for all the devices so that we know that all the devices are covered. Your example for the classroom teachers, not altering plans. That's not part of the curriculum for the year moving forward. Okay? I also heard you say that all of those devices have specific labels, whatever, serial numbers, whatever. That those all will be logged out to each student, that we will have a permanent record of who has whatever serial number. Is this correct? For every device?
That is correct.
Okay, so then moving forward, this year, because we're like running against time, why don't we try the process that has been put forth to us to see how it works? And if it doesn't work, my suggestion would be is that every year, parents pay a fee to have a computer device. That's what happens out beyond the high school grade level anyways. I pay a fee every year for Kira to have a device that is insured and replaced at no cost for the student to use, okay? It's just a general fee. But since we're running out of time and we need to make a decision, move forward with the process that you guys have in place now with the understanding of the clear documentation and all that, and hopefully we will not have a repeat of last year, different circumstances.
One thing I'd like to bring up is, and it's happened in the last couple of meetings, we constantly have things that were not in the budget come up. When is it going to stop? The idea of having a budget is to be able to plan for what you need to spend for the school year, not to continue to add things in afterwards. Okay? For us to have to make this decision a week before school starts, and this is where I will say something, Max, is almost like bull. Okay? We should have been looking at this in June or in May, not in August, the week before school starts. We knew we had a problem, and I'm bringing this up on every point. If we know we have a problem, why are we waiting until the week before school start and then the board put on the line to spend thousands of dollars without getting time or without even having it in budget? Why have a budget then? Let's just spend. Let's not even work months on a budget, because we're just going to keep bringing this up and then this up. It's got to stop somewhere, guys. You know, or you're going to end up with a school district that has nothing because you can't plan for it. We need to plan for this stuff like this and not before the week of school starts. And I do agree with Kathy. The parents do not need the burden. They're the taxpayers. Okay? But I'm saying to administrators the whole way down, we need to have a plan and it be in the budget. The board is supposed to be taking care of what's being spent by the school district. That's our main purpose as board members. We cannot go and spend all the time on a budget and then turn around and change it every single month. I'm off my podium now.
It's my understanding, Kathy, you were making a motion to purchase the insurance as recommended by administration. Is that accurate?
I kind of feel like that we're in a position where we don't have a choice at the moment. Because school starts next week. What option do we have right now? But moving forward, this needs to be a solid 100% thing that is in the budget. Period.
Well, and I don't disagree with the budget issue. I think that, again, the whole point, I agree with Dave, the point of a budget is to plan. And that's anticipating your costs, anticipating your needs. I get that concept. But I don't think that it's, Kathy, I think there is an option. The option is to not buy it. It's just,
is there any of the money out there from COVID stuff to purchase this insurance for our devices? You know how we were allotted, school districts are allotted money for purchasing like the Chromebooks and stuff. Is there any money out there that just could use to pay for this insurance for these devices?
So there's a lot of money we're spending that we can get back through that same easement plan, which we're already working.
But what I was saying was the option, I mean, we have the computers, we bought the computers, school will start, sky won't fall, we'll be good. It's just the issue will come up if, again, a kid shows up and doesn't have it or throws it at Mr. Lowry and says, hey, I ripped the keys off of it. that's where the issues start to come in, is what do we want to do as a district? Do we want to say, well, you're out of the class? I mean, we don't have to do it tonight, but we have to be prepared to address and give them guidance for what we want them to implement as far as how do you address that? Because you could do it and just say, we're not going to spend the $17,000. It's on, if your parents can't supervise your kids and they trash the Chromebooks, you're going to pay for it. It's just we have to give clear guidance to the administrators and then for them to give to the teachers, to the parents, so that everyone's on the same page, that we understand how this is going to happen. So we do have an option. I don't want anybody to feel like we have to spend the money, but it's if we don't spend the money, we have to be comfortable with that alternative.
I do have one more question, Max. Following up on Dave's question, when did we know that these items were gone and or broken?
I'm gonna guesstimate mid-July.
Mid-July, but school is over in May.
You are correct. School is over on May 28th.
So why wouldn't we know for 6 or 7 weeks?
Because the first 2 weeks, myself and my assistant were updating every teacher laptop with the latest updates that they needed in order for them to have their laptops over the summer. Whether it was for them to do their lesson plans at home, whether it was to teach summer school, and then we moved forward to finding all the Chromebooks. And to find 800 and some of them spread between 2 buildings and not have them placed in an obvious area within the classroom. I found them in cupboards hidden. I found them in boxes stacked up in the hallway. At the same time, we're fighting maintenance because they're tearing classrooms apart to go in and wax the floors. So first couple of weeks of school, they've already started tearing classrooms apart, and we're trying to go in there and find computers. So it was a little bit hectic to even find the 700 and some that we did find.
I know it wasn't your job to collect them, but I'm just like, I'm appalled that our staff, if I was a classroom teacher and we loaned out hats, I guarded those like gold. I cannot understand that if I had a group of students and they were at the end of the year to turn in that $200-some Chromebook, I would make sure that if John did not turn it in, I'd just mark it down and not make a big deal out of it. But my goodness, there should have been some sort of record by our staff, not by you, but by the people who were collecting them from our students. I'm just shocked.
If I may as well, I want to make a quick comment. I mean, absolutely no disrespect by making this comment as well. Is in regards to the budget, administration, works over the budget with secretarial staff and staff, our teachers, and we present things, and naturally cuts occur. Absolutely, we completely understand that. Cuts come back, and out of respect, we try to make it go with the cuts that were made, even when things were listed as needs. And we work as well as we can. Our staff, our teachers work as well as we can with what has been permitted to be purchased. And every now and then we got to come back to the well. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but when things are listed as needs and things are in the budget and they're cut, we do sometimes have to come back to the board to say, can you please help us out? We need this to get by. So, and I there are times where there are things that are added after the fact that we don't necessarily know about, but to wholesale make a statement about budget, that.
I'll make a wholesale statement. There was nothing cut that was marked as a need out of that budget. Thank you, Mr. Baird.
Okay.
Okay? Because Rebecca and I were the two of the main ones there every meeting. There was no need cut. One of our cuts was Chromebooks, because we said, you get too many Chromebooks out there, you're not going to keep track of them. And that's exactly what's already happened.
I understand that. Was it $15,000 in devices that we lost? Is that right? Or what was the $15,000 exactly?
That was Larry's estimate on the 50 that were not returned to the end of the year.
Okay. Is that pretty, I mean, because I'm doing the cost benefit analysis here, and we're gonna pay $17,000 for insurance premium, and the insurance is actually gonna cost us $2,000 more than the loss of the devices. I'm just running through a cost benefit analysis. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think the point I believe I heard was that and I think you're comparing apples to oranges potentially, because you're talking about older devices that weren't returned, that maybe had little to no useful life left, whereas we're talking about new devices. I still think we have two different issues. I'm not going to debate. I don't see I think it's important. I mean, if I felt like the administrators weren't making changes, if Mr. Lowry hadn't made changes, I would feel like we needed to probably talk about, hey, what are we changing here? We can't do this again. But I think they made it pretty clear they've already made the changes. So the past is the past, and we can talk all we want. We're not changing it. The question is, going forward, again, trying to learn. My understanding, at least when they first started talking about the devices that were lost, was to give us an idea on rough numbers and percentages, so that we could anticipate. Let's say it happens again this year. What did we see last year? We're going to roughly see that cost of replacement, and the replacement cost could be a little bit more. I'm assuming these things aren't going to go down in price, they're going to go up. And the administrators are presenting us with a way to mitigate that cost. So while yes, it may look like, if we look backwards, that, hey, that sucks taking the $15,000 hit, and now you must have spent 17. I'm kind of interpreting what they're saying is, you don't have to do this, but if you want to try to reduce the loss next year at this time, this is the way to do it, is you do this, because theoretically we're going to have more kids with devices and the number's probably going to be higher. But there again, it's still, as was pointed out, it's still $17,000 that wasn't in the budget. So there's not a no-brainer on this one. I don't see an easy answer.
Do we self-insure, then is the question, and set aside a certain amount of money rather than spend $17,000?
You self-insure, you mean just the concept of it, of just allocating X amount of dollars?
Well, I guess that brings me back, so if we did do self-insurance, like if it was pay to fix it, is that something, I know you have limited staff, that's something that you'd be able to, the teacher says, yeah, I got 10 broken Chromebooks,
He has,
fix tomorrow.
yeah, he has no staff now too, Corey, remember, he has nobody now. So he has no staff.
There's only so much we can do in May, and there's only so many spare parts we can actually source. You know, and Brian, let's do a cost benefit analysis. If it costs $50 to buy a new keyboard and it takes me 20 minutes to replace it, and I get paid $100 an hour, and so that's $100 it costs to replace that keyboard. So how many of those in a day or in a week before you go, okay, this just isn't working anymore? And that's, I mean, the keyboard's the simplest thing to replace. You start tearing into replacing the screen on one of these things, and it might take you 40 minutes to do it. And you know, that takes my time away from anything else that I'm required to do.
That'd be my concern if we just kind of do that.
I agree with Corey. Corey's not, he doesn't have a mic, but I agree. I believe I heard him correctly. Corey's concern, and I agree with it, is that you can't discount Mr. Lowry's time. I mean, you can't say that that's free. And that's effectively what we're doing, is, oh, Max fixes it for free. Okay, well, it's, A, it's not free, and B, it's not doing anything else. So unless we hire somebody else or two people real quick, which, again, that's going to be money that we need to spend. There's going to be a cost associated with it. Like I said, there's a cost either way. It's not like if we don't buy the insurance, there's no cost. I see an issue with the time, because as I understand it, if I heard correctly, this insurance is a send away, right? You put it in a box, send it away, and they send you another one. Is that correct?
They either repair it or replace it. That is correct.
What about a time lag? I mean, is there a time benefit to having the insurance versus not, or do you think it's going to be a wash?
I'm going to say it's going to be a wash, or it may be a bit quicker. My understanding is if it's overnighted to them, it's fixed in a day, it's overnighted back to me, and that's it.
Are the old computers prorated, or do they just automatically replace them?
I don't know how those details.
Okay, that's important, because if you're sending away a 3-year-old Chromebook or a 2-year-old Chromebook, they might end up prorating it and saying, okay, you can have a new Chromebook, but it's going to cost you $1.50. So,
my understanding is they're
So are they replacing it or giving you $200 towards the purchase of a new Chromebook?
Either way, we win.
How do we win? If we broke a $300 Chromebook and it still costs us $100 and we're paying $17,000 for insurance, them numbers don't add up.
Where'd you get the $300 Chromebook?
Well, that's what we were estimating them at, correct?
I thought it was 2.
Two. Okay.
But I think what he was talking about with the game was is if it's an older one that's not.
Yeah, that's what I need to know. Are they prorating these Chromebooks? Because if you send away a 3-year-old Chromebook and they're not going to give you your $200 that you can replace it with, then maybe we're insuring Chromebooks we shouldn't insure. Maybe we should just insure the new ones. And how long will they do that? I mean, that's all important things to make the final decision, I think, on what we're going to do here. I mean, has anybody read the policy to see exactly what the replacement cost will be? Is it $200 for any Chromebook, no matter how old? And you're positive of that?
That according to the quote, it's exactly what it says.
Huh? Then I'm all in favor for the insurance, because don't come to me and ask to buy Chromebooks that were destroyed. We got them insured. So don't put them in the budget next year, okay?
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to go back to Kathy. I thought you said something close to making a motion to approve the recommendation to buy the insurance. Did I hear you?
Make a motion to approve to buy the insurance for all Chromebooks in the school.
Okay, we'll overlook the microphone violation, and we'll give Kathy the benefit of making a motion to approve the insurance as proposed by the administrative staff. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion, and I'd like to have the notes put in on the replacement cost.
I'll overlook that microphone violation as well, too. You said you wanted in the minutes
I wanted the minutes.
about the old units?
About the old, that it's complete replacement across the board is what we would be.
Right, and that's, Mr. Lowry said that's what's in the quote.
Okay.
Well, what if they repair it?
Well, if they repair it, fine, then we still have it. But if it's destroyed, they're replacing it, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a motion, and I got a second. Do I have any further discussion?
My only fear is that we're going to vote on something by which we're going to spend $17,000 on something we don't have specifics on. I'm all for the insurance, don't get me wrong, I'm all for the insurance. But, Max, with all due respect, I think you should have brought some more specific information to us tonight so we could make a better informed decision, because you're assuring some things
That I don't forget.
yeah, there's a line in the movie, and I won't quote it.
I mean, I don't know. Amy's got a stack of paper in front of her. I mean, I'm not reading over her shoulder, but I get the impression that they have a lot of information and time spent on it, so I don't think it's an off-the-cuff thing. I can't tell you each individual device amount, Larry, if that's your question, but I think I don't think I could tell you, you asked about the $20 and you wanted to know what every individual device amount was, but the answer is it's an average of the 3 devices. I think that's fair.
There's a lot of other details. That's not the main detail. I'll take an average of $20. That's
Okay.
fine. Because the worst case scenario, if you take $10, $30 is on the high side, just to make an average.
Right.
My point is, there's still a lot of other details that I wish we would have known either tonight or at a previous meeting.
And I am a fan of advanced information, so I don't disagree, but I also understand that we're asking everyone to do a lot of different things and to take on more responsibilities in different roles, or at least different responsibilities than what they had before, and that there comes with that is learning. But I think it also comes to delegation too. I think we either hire these people to do a job, and what they tell us this is what to do, we do it, or if we want to review every contract that they tell us to sign, I mean, we can do that, but I don't know, it just seems like we're not delegating at that point. But this is just discussion.
I've just got to say something to I'm not anywhere at all saying that we should review every contract we want to sign. But I think you can clearly see my angst with what has happened here in the last 45 minutes. So for me to take full disclosure of what Max is saying, by full faith, I should say, no disrespect, Max, I got a little problem with that, though. Because you walked up here and told us we completely lost 50 and 25 were broken. So.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please. Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay. We have item Y is something I started, I think it was in June. An opportunity for someone, if they want to discuss concerns. Again, there's no motion to present, but it's an opportunity to discuss issues or concerns for the district going forward, or proposals for things that we might want to work on for next time. Is there anyone that wants to talk about any particular proposal or issue?
I think we've already discussed that tonight. I'd like to go ahead and move for.
Okay. Any opposition? Well, I guess we'll find out if there's opposition to that motion. I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any discussion on the motion to adjourn? So if you want to keep talking, say something now.
I would hope that for this coming year, that we are kept abreast of things and not wait like the week before school or stuff like this. I mean, we went through, I hate to say it, and I'm still burnt, that we went through about in March, going back in time, everything was going great. We got the grades, and they weren't good. It's like another situation. I hope this year, as we move forward, we are kept in the loop of things and things are presented, that we have plenty of time to look things over and know what's going on.
Any further discussion on the motion to adjourn?
I just have a question about, I'd just like to see that. I would just like to see in the future, and where we are over the last 10 years, just for my own edification, as far as PSSA scores and how we're doing, and maybe looking at curriculum and how our curriculum fits with our scores. And I really don't have any necessarily idea if there's any correlation or where it's going. But I don't think that's a bad thing to look at, to make sure we have the right curriculum and we're going in the right direction as far as our PSSA scores. And I'd also like to thank Mrs. Glassel for well, we'll just call it an accountability flow chart. I think we've gotten into that discussion generally over the last period of 45 minutes or so, and I think everybody needs to be accountable in the district. And I think that while it might be a simplified chart, I believe that it's good to see on paper in a lot of ways to know what everybody's role is and how the flow of the role goes for everybody. So
I appreciate that comment, Brian. Brian emailed me today about that issue, and I already told him this, and I'll tell everybody this, that I'll probably be asking Amy to address the PSSA issues in her next meeting. I didn't think that the same day would give her enough time to prepare for that, but I do agree with the sentiment that we as a board, curriculum is probably ought to be right below the taxpayer money as far as what we're looking at. So definitely we need to be informed, we need to be aware, and we need to, look critically at it and see what changes we can make to improve it for our students. And to respond to Gary, I agree. If you guys, we have talked about goals and issues, areas for improvement, and I believe the administrative team has heard that loud and clear. And one of the top two things that we always talk about are accountability and communication. And so it's definitely not, this is not the first time they're hearing that. I feel like they're definitely making positive steps towards that, and I feel positive energy from a lot of different sectors of the district. And so I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I feel positive.
I like it. And one other thing that I think would be a great start, maybe Rhonda, you could encourage our teachers. I mean, with all that's going on in the world, especially with Afghanistan, we have a lot of families that maybe locally that they have served in Afghanistan, maybe even lost someone there. A lot of these people are hurting right now. It would be great to see maybe our kids make cards and that to local families, of our military families, of appreciation. We're thinking about you. We know the pain maybe some of you are feeling. I think that would be a wonderful thing for our area and to support all those who have served in our military along those 20 years.
And moving forward, could we this year do something that we didn't do very much of last year, unless I missed the vote on a lot of it, is when we have students that are in our district here and they're doing exceptional things and they're shining here in the district, can we announce that to the world, whether it's in the newspaper or whatever? Could we just make sure that that all gets out there, because they work very hard and that's what we're all about and why we're here. So I think we should celebrate those accomplishments and awesome days that they have.
I think there's no disagreement whatsoever, and we agree. And actually, that's something that Larry had brought to Amy and my attention a month ago or two. And there's already been steps taken on that. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, and I believe, Amy, that there's concerted effort being made to do more of that, and you'll see that as well. But obviously, if there's areas of concern, let us know.
Still got a motion.
I do a motion. Oh, I got a second too. I got Corey, I think, seconded it. Yep.
Corey seconded.
It's on the table. There's still discussion though. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Meeting adjourned.